at their place. As you know, on Fridays we have our Literature Day, and on Literature Day we talk about different books and different authors. Today I have a little big family with me, and the people who are really, really close to my heart as well. They actually decided to go with a very classic and an excellent book written by Khalid Hosseini. That was The Kite Runner. The Kite Runner actually holds a very, very special place in the hearts of all the immigrants, in the hearts of anyone who has actually left their homeland, and they have actually seen a different aspect of their, country, and after a crisis have occurred. My whole idea of bringing movie and literature together is to actually get our voice to all the people that if something's adaptation is not giving us justice, so that they can actually help us out, and they can even make a better version of the movie. Today in my jury I have with me my co-host, Aisha. Aisha, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you, Sundar?
I'm good as well. Aisha, thank you so much for coming. The next I have
No,
with me
thank you
is
for
Amna
calling me.
Iftikhar Shah. Amna is doing her master's in applied English linguistics. So, hi Amna, how are you?
I'm good. How are you, Sundus?
Today we have a very, very special book with us. It's none other than, The Kite Runner. The book is very special in terms of its writing, in terms of, what it holds. So I'll start off with, quickly the author of the book, Khalid Hosseini. Amna, what do you have to say? Because you've always been a person very close to IR, very close to social and economic politics, and I've always seen you having very good grip, even in the class as well. So you tell us that, what do you think about him?
All right, so to begin with, Khalid Hosseini was obviously born in Kabul, Afghanistan in 1965. The main thing I want to show is that, around in 1979, the Soviet invasion began. And because of the fact that Hosseini was from a family that from his father, his father was in the Afghan Foreign Ministry and his mother was a teacher. So somehow the ministry actually relocated Hosseini's family to Paris, and then later in the 80s, they seeked asylum in the US because of the fact that the socioeconomic conditions were not feasible enough for people to stay there. Hosseini, because he himself suffered homelessness because of the fact that you have a native land, you have your roots, and you cannot go there because of the fact that the conditions there were so hostile, so rigid for the people that somehow it became literally impossible to just leave the place. But I do believe that this was limited to the people who could financially either afford another living, who could go somewhere else. But as for the people who were there, could not really leave their places. There were many people who became homeless. There were many people. So Hosseini actually portrayed what he saw, and he knew his people's plight. He knew what they suffered. He knew what the children went through. He knew the very influence that the families had on their children and how their mindsets began to change. And he made, I guess, quite a very successful attempt at, changing the very mindset of the people, of the children, because even if there's a very strong character who's an antagonist, portraying the very mindset that which is actually shown at his home. He's a child. He should not know about this. He should not know about the politics enough to, that he aims to overthrow a government, a child. So I guess Hosseini really nicely portrayed, and because he suffered it, so he was really better at, portraying what he saw, because he knew the life before the Soviet invasion. He knew the life before the Taliban came. He knew the life that was way more different, and he knew that the government had made many tentative attempts at, normalizing life in Afghanistan and even making some modernistic changes, regardless of the fact that they really kept in mind their very idea of the conservative Afghanistan. So without crossing their limits, they tried to modernize Afghanistan. But then again, these attempts were somehow sabotaged because of whatever happened with his choice. Afghanistan has suffered a lot.
I'm not talking about Khalid Hosseini's, talking about Khalid Hosseini's writing, talking about his exposure and the way his debut was so
Exactly.
strong. People were not expecting this. People were not
No,
actually
this was not
when they
expected.
were
This was
actually holding
not
the book, they were
expected.
like, huh, exactly. Talking to you,
To
Aisha,
a
what do you
point
think
where the
when you look at
Americans
somebody?
literally admired him.
That's so true.
Americans
That's so true. I
admired him
want to
for
take
his
Aisha's point of
ability
view as
to.
well. I'll switch to you on that
Khalid,
for this.
Khalid
Yes, yes.
Hosseini, being a humanitarian and being a goodwill ambassador, I feel the way he's captured the nakedness, keeping it very simple, straightforward of how, whatever the situation was in Afghanistan back at that time, and, being the Russian invasion happening and being the Taliban coming in, a lot of every single person, be it a child or an adult or an old person, everybody was affected. And we talk about adults, we talk about buzuर्gs and everybody, but we don't talk about children or how a child would have felt or how a child would have been affected by things. So I feel he's captured that in such a raw form that when you read a book, if somebody who's reading a book and shows no feeling or emotions, I feel the person is like, emotionless or very stone made, because if you don't move with this book, I don't know what can move you. Because when I read the book for the first time, somebody referred it to me and I purchased it. When I started reading it, I was so into the book that even 2 3 weeks after, I would dream about certain thing, and I would be like, get chills just thinking about it. So I feel he's portrayed it in a very beautiful raw form. It's very difficult for every person to portray it in that manner. And as Amna said, for him to go through the similar situation himself, getting asylum, going to California, and then going on and on with his life, and then somewhere he writes that at the age of 36 was when he first time went back to Afghanistan, and he said that I felt like a tourist. So getting that feel, like if I come from abroad to Pakistan and I feel like a stranger, in my homeland, I would feel broken, not to get that feeling of strangeness in my own home country. So I feel, yes, this book is a journey on its own.
Yeah, I would definitely say this book is a journey on its own. I love that part because I do believe that you actually transcend with them. You actually go in the last when you see him running towards the gun, the thump in your heart that he faced it, he saw it, he knew, and the whole idea of how guilt can actually provoke something so strong in you that you cannot stop it. Talking about if I talk about the book and the movie, the characters were played excellent. I have to say that all the characters had certain aspects that were very very influential. If I talk to Amna, what do you think that what was that one character that spoke to you on levels?
Honestly, Hassan was a character that was, he suffered the most. The child who was somehow, I do believe that Husseini tried to keep the Afghan roots as strong as possible. He didn't let go of it. The way a child is depicted in any situation, in a book or in a movie or somehow, you can feel the privileged and the unprivileged. Uh, there is a very strong feeling that you get that there are Afghan roots, and then there's this Hazara child who does not really belong there. He is a part, but obviously till then it was not really disclosed. His real identity was considered as the hair-lipped Hazara, who is not considered as a proper Afghan, and not being as noble as the other people, not being as noble as Amir himself, being a friend with Amir, because if we see this, Husseini has, somehow tried to make us realize that there is friendship, but there are social compulsions as well. Because wherever he went, he needed to, justify their friendship. He needed to justify the friendship he had with Hassan. And if I recall a scene, if people have seen the movie or if someone has read the book, either ways, if you really remember the birthday scene where Hassan and Amir are still friends, but Hassan works as a servant. And if you see the way the birthday is celebrated somehow. So yeah, and I would add one thing: the use of the word "agha" as it's used in Baltistan a lot because somehow we connect a lot. So it shows the very social impact um, the social and the class system actually has. So Sani has successfully captured that too somehow. And again, Hassan obviously being a person who sacrificed for a friend solely for the sake of friendship and nothing else in mind. There weren't any benefits. There weren't any things that would have affected the friendship. He tried preventing everything that would have caused a hindrance in the friendship. So I do
I
believe
would,
he was
I
one of
would,
the most strongest characters.
I do agree that Hassan's character is very, very loud and very something that you don't find even in these days. I would say that
That's
it's something very beautiful and written so well. Talking to you, Aisha, what do you think that, which character actually spoke volumes to you and you were like, this character?
Okay, firstly, being a Pathan myself, so I would say that yes, Amna is right. Getting that the word "agha," clearly represents the social system and the status where you stand in. For me, also the character of Hassan, I feel I wish that we get a Hassan in our life, as a friend. I hope that everybody finds that Hassan in their lifetime because we really do need one nowadays. Getting a friend like Hassan is very difficult. I think nearly impossible. For me, there are two portions in the book or in the movie, that actually hit me really hard. One was when where they say the Bare tu hazar dafa, that, for you 1,000 times over. That, and then where he says, Amir Hassan Sultani Kabul, that, Amir and Hassan, Amir and Hassan are the sultans of Kabul. These two portions show the true love, the brotherhood or the bond that Hassan feels, and the status complications at the same time. These lines are so deep if you think of it that way. So I would say the character of Hassan, and for friendship to the depth that he went, I don't really think that we get friends like that nowadays. To who would like go through that extent just to show the friendship. Or true meaning of friendship is this, I feel.
I do agree to your fact, Aisha, and I do believe that it's completely something that has happened, the first time that all of us are actually agreeing to the same character. Even my character, I would say, has to be Hassan because I do believe that somehow my connection to the book became more stronger by looking at so much purity, by looking at so much kindness. So for me, I do believe that it's a very, very, big and what should I say, vast character. And I so wish I could have seen more of him. I so wish, he could have lived longer. I would have seen how he would have. I wish their friendship would have lived longer. Every single thing, every single time, there's this heartbreak, that this small heartbreak that Khalid Hosseini is able to give us, and it's something
that's
very, very beautiful.
one thing I would like to add here is two more characters. Amir's father and Rahim Khan, their bonding, the way they, handle situations, the way Rahim Khan tried being a bridge between Amir and his father, knowing that there is a very pertinent rift between both of them. And because somehow I do believe that Amir's father's behavior was a bit justified because of the fact that he had seen Afghanistan before the invasion. He had seen Afghanistan before extremism. He had seen the peace. So somehow a bit of I would not say the hate was justified, but I guess somehow the unrest was justified because of the fact that he had seen peace. He had seen the life that was without uncertainty. and then there was a life with full of uncertainty. And Rahim Khan became a person who, tried to comfort both Amir's father as well as Amir himself. He encouraged him writing. Because he knew that somehow the way to express emotions was stories. Even if we go a bit, I would just skip a part, and when we see Amir in America, and we see General Saab when he's told that Amir writes stories, and it's like, okay, he's a storyteller, because they do not really give enough importance to the people who write, to the people. It's just a mere storyteller. So the main difference between the way people, judge other people's talents, Rahim Khan was the person who actually judged him from the beginning. Whereas there are a lot of people who do not really, know other people's talents, and somehow try undermining them.
I would, I would add to your point, Amna. Somehow, I even believe that by showing his character, they actually showed that sometimes the adults even have that, intellectuality, I would say, and they have that thought and they have that, belief, because there's a huge system that says that, since the ancestors, it's going like this. So Khalid Hosseini
Exactly.
is actually, breaking a norm here. He's actually showing us that no, it's just family to family. It's not always the same.
And Sundar, I would literally say it's like keeping the norms while breaking the stereotypes. He
Yeah.
never went against the norms. It was keeping the norms along with breaking stereotypes that were needed to be broken at that very moment, because it was now high time people should think of what they do and what they need to do. So yes, I guess it's very well preserved. The story is very well preserved somehow.
I actually love Hira's comment. I would say if there's any coming of age novel, there is this one. I definitely have to agree to that point. I have, some great people, even Somya Kayani from the university is actually saying that she's starting to, going to read it again. Omar Khan is also, watching us and he's really happy about it that, we've actually taken this book. I think everyone in this, what should I say, not even country, I would say, in this whole world would somehow connect to this movie or this novel is because they can actually see the the shift how things changed after Taliban, after Afghanistan got rolled, after 9/11 happened, after World War II happened. There are so many different events that actually broke the humanity and actually broke systems, and that made us see that so many divisions in just one humankind, so many divisions. So talking about my favorite part of this session, that is movie or book. So I'll start off with Aisha because I always put the court, ball in the court of my co-host. I believe she should be the first one getting it. So Aisha, you tell us, how much do you believe that? What is it going to be? Is it going to be the movie or the book for you?
For this one, hands down, the book. It was. There is no other way around for me over here, because when I watched the movie, um, I lacked that connect. Yes, there were parts. For example, Baba's death part was for me was like very heart wrenching, but at the same time, they were lack of emotional. I feel connect. They changed around the subject a lot. There was I did not get a, a little too much connected to the movie, whereas the book, oh my god, even if I read it or like just generally like talking about it right now, I can like recall the scenes in my mind and be a little teary eyed. So I feel yes, for me the book, no other way, but the book. That's it's like 100% the book for me.
Okay, Amna, it's your turn now. You tell us, movie or book?
The book, of course, because I honestly, before the show was announced, I had not seen the movie, honestly. So I was told to watch because there is going to be a comparison, and I was like, Achatika, let's just watch the movie for once. And literally, I made like 3 failed attempts at watching the movie because it was somehow so depressing for me. I don't know. Somehow, I do believe that it was not even 1% of what was actually shown in the book. Uh, there were depressing parts. There were parts that, okay, there were parts that were required, but there were happy times that weren't really, showed in the movie. There were
Yeah.
happy times. There were things that were, cherished. There were memories that were cherished. There were things that made people smile a bit, regardless of the fact that I did not see anything. But yes, I would like to add one thing, that there was supposed to be one sad part. That is when Sohrab tries to commit suicide.
Yeah.
And it's not how it ended. For You, A Thousand Times Over honestly did not have the same impact as it had in the book.
Yep.
I was just
Yeah.
about to add that same thing, that, talking about when I read that particular line a thousand times
Exactly.
over,
And from
it
Amir's
it,
mouth,
it
he tried
resonated.
somehow
It left,
compensating.
yeah, it left a little alteration in my mind. It left a little strong impact that, you know, when you say it to somebody, and if you've read the book, you know exactly what you mean. You know
Okay,
exactly what
I
you
am
mean.
going to add one thing as well. The end, honestly, when I watched the movie, the end when Amir says this to Sohrab, that for you a thousand time over, I literally didn't felt anything, because to me this very sentence didn't meant anything, because it did not have a background to it. Acha, honestly, one thing that is something to be talked about, I said this before, in the beginning of the book, when Hassan is introduced, he is introduced as a cleft lipped Hazara.
Yeah.
But somehow here, Hassan does not have a cleft lip. Because, okay, one thing that is shown is that, Amir's father pays for the surgery because it's his son. His identity is not revealed yet, but then again, he cares about his son. But then other thing is that when there is a cleft lip, it somehow symbolizes the idea of the ethnic difference between the hair-lipped Hazara and the noble Pashtun, the actual Afghan.
Yeah.
So somehow this has been erased as one. Um, the
I so totally agree to your point as well, Amna. And I do believe that, the certain things, one thing I was really, really surprised about was that intimacy was shown a little too much.
That's
And
true. That's so that's
I
very
believe
true.
that it was not
I was just about to say this, that
it was not that strong
things
part
were too
of the
dismissive.
novel. The novel actually, the book actually, I'm sorry, novel. The book actually had way much more content than that
That's true.
particular
That's
scenes or
true.
those particular parts.
Even
Uh,
when Asaf is introduced in the book, he the first very idea behind Asaf's introduction is that he tries to, the first thing he says, he will overthrow the government of Daud Khan. That's how his introduction is. But as in a movie, the first thing he's like, why have you kept such people in your house? And I guess, but then again, there's this very thing that Amir's relationship with Hassan, being a closest friend but also a servant, is somehow complicated because, the very age old Afghani tribal caste system that, obviously places Hassan, a Hazara, way beneath Amir, a Pashtun, in wealth, education, social standing, you know. So, yes, I do believe that there are differences, but as I would really agree to the idea that intimacy, if you remember that whatever Asif does to Hassan is not really openly showed in the book. It's not really openly portrayed. It's somehow very hidden. It's somehow not, it's symbolic, very symbolic. But if you
Very
see the
symbolic.
movie,
I
it's
would say,
actually too graphic, I guess. Too graphic.
I'm not talking about this very, this is a very, very special part that you have just, shared, that it's very symbolic. It leaves impacts, and it leaves small, justified impacts. If I talk about a very, very special line that, Khalid wrote in it, was that there are a lot of children in Afghanistan, but little childhood.
That's so
You
true.
know,
It's so true.
for me, that was something I wanted to see. I wanted to experience it.
And this
Uh,
symbolizes the idea that this very practice is way more common after, especially after the Soviet attempts, because if we recall, even in the movie, if we see the Soviet general tries raping a woman when Amir's father stops him,
I
that you're
understand.
not allowed
I should talking to you. I'm so sorry. We actually got lost in the discussion. Talking to you about it, how much do you believe that there is a lot of symbolism and that is lacking a lot from the movie?
I was just when before she mentioned the clip left, I was like, about to say it, and then she said it. So, I would agree to it. It's way too graphic. It takes away, for me, it takes away from what the book was about, the movie. It's, anyhow, like, when we nowadays, when you watch any movie, it's more about the intimacy, and it's more about, it's not about the moral of the story, or it's not about what the connect or the book had, the base that the book was made on. Whereas in the book, what Asif does to Hassan is has such an impact. You cannot stop thinking about it, or you cannot stop what a child would be going through. Children of Afghanistan generally going through over the period of time. I actually, after I read the book, I started digging up more of documentaries, and I started doing more of interviews. So that people to get to know, to have an idea, to get myself to feel, for 0.2% of what they might feel through, and just reading about it gave chills. So like them going through certain things, I can't even imagine how would they live, after that. Well, just like you know, there's this line, a very beautiful line that Khalid Hosseini says in the book, and he says that it always hurts more to have and lose than not to have in the first place. So for me, not having something and desiring something is totally different, but then having it right in front of me, and then somebody taking it from my hands is something else. And I feel every child deserves a childhood, and to live it in the most beautiful manner as a child can. We've all had childhoods. We're all, privileged in one way or the other. We have parents, we have everything around us, and even if a single person puts a hand on or even a finger on us, I feel our parents are there to guide us, to guard us against the evil. And people of, children of Afghanistan, Kabul, or, be it Azara, I feel you're coming from the lowest caste or lowest, creed. You have the right to live the beautiful, the childhood that it's your right. Just like an adult has the right to be independent, a child has the right to live and enjoy the beauty, the colors of the childhood that one should have. So I feel, yes. Another thing I would just add that, he says that children aren't coloring books with you. You don't get the right to fill them up with your favorite colors. None of the adults have the right to color a child, because I have seen, being a teacher myself, I've seen people, teachers tell other the children, that no, the apple is red. No, not necessarily. The apple is not supposed to be red. It can be brown, it can be black, it can be any color that the child wants it to be. So I feel it's high time that everybody realizes a child is not a puppet to play with, but a beautiful being, an angel that Allah Ta'ala, gives a person, so keep them as the beautiful uncut diamonds that they are, and let them experience and bloom on their own. I mean, how would you what would you like to further say anything about it?
I would add one thing, Asha, because if you've read other books from Khalid Hosseini, the Thousand Splendid Suns and The Mountains Echo, I would even say that The Thousand Splendid Suns was the only book that made me cry. And he says that past has a way of clawing itself up again. You cannot get rid of it, because Hassan, whatever happened with Hassan, Amir could never get rid of it. He could never get rid of the idea of what happened. He could never get rid of the guilt that happened. But honestly, as for someone like, obviously, if we see Amir's father, he had seen a life of prosperity. He had seen a life where he had no financial hindrances. He had seen a life of, an entire ease. And then there he is in America, in a pawn shop, if you say, and he collects like bear money. So yeah, I guess there are things that and again, if I remember Khalid Hussein, he says that past has a way. It
Yeah.
never goes away from you. It has a
Yeah.
way to crawl up again.
Yeah.
So yes, but I would definitely say that somehow, obviously, the Soviet invasion as well as the Taliban has somehow impacted Afghanistan so much so that the economical conditions, the financial, the social, the emotional conditions of people, and I would especially say women, have deteriorated like anything. The children's life ruined, their educational, um, the education ruined, and they're still
Yeah.
because
You're
they're
so right.
so impactful. They're so impactful, even negatively impactful, but so
Yeah.
very impactful that they do not leave you.
Yeah, you're so right on that part. I have
I
so
was,
many
I was,
relatives.
just as you were saying that you were watching documentaries and you were finding interviews. Same, I was doing the same, and I came across some pictures. And when I was making some notes, honestly, I just saw a picture of Kabul when women wore short skirts in
Yeah.
1970s, just before
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
Taliban invaded.
Yeah.
So a
I have
book that,
so many. I
but
have a
what,
lot of family in Kabul, like, in Afghanistan generally. There are a lot of family that live there, some travel quite often even today. So they tell me about, I called them up after I read it and I was like, tell me about it. And they were like, how come you are suddenly interested in how Afghanistan was or how Kabul was? So I was like, no, because I read this book and they were like, what are you believing? And I was like, just tell me, come on. Like, I was so curious to know about it. And then even my grandmom, when she was alive back then, I asked her. I was like, and she told me stories of, like, how they heard things back then and now how things were. They were like an open-minded place, and how people lived there freely, and then how it turned over after the Taliban came in and after the whole Russian invasion happened. So I feel, till date, it has left its, marks behind. And those scars, I think it will take years and years for them to, like, come out of that, because it's
exactly.
something that,
I still remember watching a documentary about Afghanistan. There were three women standing, and an American tourist just asked them as to what place this was. So a man comes and asks, "What are you doing?" Because I am just asking.
yeah,
So why the hell do you ask women? Ask a man.
yeah,
You're allowed to do so.
yeah,
So I guess
yeah,
yeah, because honestly, the very foundation as to why this happened was because uh, somehow because of the Soviet invasion, the people who weren't really into religion just tried getting rid of the communists, and
yeah,
just to do that for the sake of doing it, they turned into some people who were irrational. They didn't really have,
True.
a think tank behind them. The think tank was there, that was the United
yeah,
States. The think tank was financially aiding them with weapons, with, arms and ammunitions, because they wanted straight away anarchy, because they had their own rifts with the Soviet. So America tried, disrupting the peace, and they somehow obviously were successful. And the people who weren't educated enough uh, tried blindly following people
yeah,
who, in the name of religion, did everything that was completely against. If we again, I refer to the book as well as the movie, we see Asif again after all these years as a Taliban commander, just because of the fact that he wanted power, just because of the fact that he wanted to show his aggression, his frustration, just in the name of religion. He had nothing to do
yeah.
with it.
Yeah, I
So
would
we need
actually,
to see how
intervene
religion was
here.
misused. How was it misquoted? How badly was it misquoted?
No, I totally agree to your point as well. Amna, I actually loved your explanation, and you guys, took it off. I'm so sorry for my internet issue. I
It's
had to,
completely
cut off and come back again. So, guys, I kind of get the idea that it's 100%, movie, because from my side as well, I have to, sorry, book, because it was definitely the book that stole so many hearts and still is stealing hearts. Uh, the one thing I actually love about this movie and I'm so thankful to both of you for coming and sharing your insights. and I want to see you guys more. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. This was Amna and Aisha on our little movie and book review that we always do. My whole idea of, or our whole idea of bringing this forward is to actually show you all that, there are so many adaptations that people take of movies, of books, and they don't realize that the books are so dear to the readers that they want to see some very good justice, done to it. So I would really prefer that, if anybody is listening to us, that if actually they can take the Kite Runner forward and put a better adaptation in front of us, it'll be amazing. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining in. Like always, I say that please take care of each other. Make sure that you are safe at home. The spike is, beginning again, and we really want more safer Pakistan for everyone. Uh, Keeping in mind that a lie is something that is the biggest sin, and uh, and then again in the book it says that the biggest sin has to be theft. I want you to think about it. I want you all to see why Khalid Hosseini actually portrayed it, why he wanted to write about theft being so strong. Till then, this is me, Sindhu Sinwar, signing off with a very good notion that thank you so much for everyone joining in. And I really appreciate your time and your effort that you all give us. Thank you so much. Allah Hafiz.